Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S, and we're here with episode 7 of Words Are Real Spells, aka Wars. Thank you all for being back here. And before we get into today's word, I got to give you the disclaimer, as well as the 4 ways that we break it down. They will be in the description below. With that, the disclaimer. This has not been an exhaustive research. For it is what it is with the word. It hasn't been months on years how I did this. It's only been a few days, if not hours, of my own research and understanding into the word. So at the end of the day, take it with a grain of salt and at face value, and continue to do your own research on this word. Now, with that, today's word that we're going to be getting into is the word capitalism. Now, this is a juicy one. I will say there are so many other ways we could break this word down, but to keep it simple and short, or at least right where it needs to, this is how we're going to do it with mine. All right, so on here, we got capitalism. The first one is an economic system in which the means of production and distribution are privately or corporately owned, and development occurs through the accumulation and reinvestment of profit gains in the free market. That is so wordy, but that is the first definition. And then I'm also going to throw up some synonyms, some to think about: private ownership, free enterprise, as well as there's a quote down there by Malcolm X, which is very interesting. Look into that as well, y'all. And then the next one from Google, we have the same thing, which economic, and it's a political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners. And we could continue. I'm not going to read it all. And then the other one from etymology, which the key one that pops out to me is the concentration of capital in the hands of a few, as well as the power or influence of large capital. So keep those in mind. Now, we've broken it down, gave you definitions. Now, in this particular case, I know capitalism, this has 5 syllables. But in this particular case, the way that it's broken down, I'm only going to give you 2 of those syllables, which we're going to put into capital, and then we're going to put it to ism. So we're going to go through those and break those down next. So now, when we look at the parts of capital, we have this first part, which is money, principal or city serving as a seat of government, involving death, a capital crime. So those are just a few. Now I'm going to give you a whole list, because just like the word capitalism, its different parts have so many ways that you could break this word down. There's so many different roots, but I'm going to give you a few, just throw them on there. So we have some for government, have a lot for economics, because capital having to mean about money, as well as making capital of, or to get advantage from when you have this capital. You also have assets. You have something to do with, of course, the wording, so capital letters, as well as, laws of punishment, and being the chief or head of an organization or particular government. Now, like I said, I'm going to throw them on the screen as we're going through them. Now, second one from Google, same things, mostly talking about really a town or country of origin, but same thing having to do with wealth in the form of money and different assets. And then next thing with the other one, same thing, have pertaining to it really being the head of something and being the main principal, chief, or dominant, first in importance. Keep those all in mind, and that's for capital. Now, the next part of that, we got the capital. Now we have to go to the ism. Now, with the ism, we have it is a distinctive doctrine, system, or theory. And that is also because it can be a noun, as well as it can also be a suffix, which on this next one, it shows that it is a forming nouns denoting an action or its result, as well as we have 3 others, but the other one having to denote a system, principle, or an ideological movement. Keeping those in mind. And man-made isms. Same thing with the next one. You still have that doctrine and theory, or have a practice of it. And it being a word forming element at the same time. But with that, gave you definitions. We broke down those two parts, which there's multiple. There's so much in this word, but I only want to do those two parts. Now we're here to my definition and understanding of the word capitalism. So with that, capitalism, my understanding, is a man-made system and practice used to maximize the wealth, power, and status of a select few persons and entities while minimizing the wealth, power, and status of everyone else. So I know it's long, but that is what capitalism, in my understanding, is. Once again, a man-made system and practice used to maximize the wealth, power, and status of a select few persons and entities while minimizing the wealth, power, and status of everyone else. So now, the reason why I say that are for these 4 reasons that I have. There's so many more, but I will go with these 4. The first one being that it shows within the definition in itself, in that part where it says concentration, it was the concentration of capital in the hands of few. So it shows you that there is an uneven balance or distribution of wealth. That's why we had that whole movement back way when talking about Occupy Wall Street, and that we are the 99% versus the 1%, being those that have majority of the wealth within the world. And that is a part of the system of capitalism. Get it in the hands and concentrate it in the hands of few. And that's either it's through privately owned, or through a whole corporation of entities. So it's the first reason that I say that it is to maximize and to minimize on those certain levels. Because for you to be able to capitalize, or I should say the next point, to be able to thrive in this system, you must capitalize. And when you capitalize, that means that you take advantage, or you have a higher status or power over someone else. So if we were to have the same money or have the same cars in the same places, how would I be able to show that I have more power, if not capital, over you? That would be close to another whole system. It wouldn't be capitalism what it is, because how it's built is that someone has to be on top of someone else. So in itself, that system also creates the ism of classism, and having different classes and putting us in different levels, which in turn, we see it as a pyramid shape, which we have our foundation all the way. Once you get to the tippy top, it gets very concentrated and very small, because that is where all the distribution, if not at the wealth, is at the top. And we have that top bottom. And that, in a sense, you see that either on the dollar bill, you see in the back it has the pyramid. You see some companies that even have the pyramid, like Fidelity and other different places. Very symbolic when it comes to figuring out what capitalism is, and having to capitalize off of somebody else to be able to thrive. Now, third point is the mindset and the doctrine of just getting money. So it's been misused and has misguided so many people, because of the fact that all we are put into is that, okay, the only way for us to thrive and keep moving is that we got to keep making money. So we see that on TV telling us we got to make money. We see it around everybody who's going out for. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to keep up with the Kardashians and all these other people, showing that once we get this money, we need to buy and purchase all these different things, and not use it strategically to help us build, if not wealth, and leave something behind for the next generation, and being able to provide that so the next generation could provide different solutions to this current system that we're in. So it really blinds us to only value just the pursuit of money, and just money itself in the form of wasting it, versus using that to help build upon yourself and build upon the wealth, not the riches, but the wealth, to be able to pass it on generational or on to the next, to be able to create better situations. And lastly, when you look at the word capitalism, I see another word that's in there that plays a little part in the word as well. And that word that I see in there, it is the word pit. So now you're asking me, like, okay, why the word pit? Well, when you think about it, in the sense of the word capitalism, money ultimately in this system equals debt. And the more debt that you have, the more you put yourself into this pit, into this rut, to a point that it's very hard for you to get out of this spiraling in this pit that has been built due to the fact that you're continuing to engage in buying this system. Because if you look even further into that, you get to understand that for us to get out of the debt that we are in, we would have to print more money to be able to pay off that debt. But when you print more money, you print on top of that, you have interest or principal interest, if I'm saying it correctly. And on top of that, you have to pay that off. But how can you pay that off if there is only a select certain amount of money that is in circulation? So what ends up happening is we perpetually continue to be buying and paying into stuff that we don't even have the money for it, because we have to print off more money, which creates more debt on top of that debt. So we create this pitfall that ends up leaving us in this endless loop of always being in debt and being tied to a system, because once again, there has to be somebody at the top and there has to be somebody at the bottom and in between, so that this system can function the way that it can. We must capitalize off of somebody else's misfortune, or just capitalize off of someone else to have a higher status than that. But there's also the whole thing of it being root of all evil and all these other different things, but I'm not going to go too much more into that. Thank you guys. Thank you all. This has been the 7th episode of Words Are Real Spells, aka Wars. If y'all have any more, throw them down in the comments. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And we will be back with the next episode. Other than that, I've been your brother A.D.V.I.S. adding vision for you to envision your own thoughts, words, and decisions. Peace, one love, and I'm out.
We can't see that well, so you know we can't see that well. We need lenses. You know we can't see that well, so you know